Thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. I've been so excited. This is a real passion of mine to speak to so many incredible women out there about courage and leadership. So I just sort of thought I'd share a little bit of a story about me and who I am, so you get a little bit of context around why I'm so passionate about this space. My background is, I'm from Australia. I don't know if you picked up from the accent. I've been really lucky in my career. I did a degree in human resources and psychology. I went and started my career in people, culture, human resources, and training. And then, as you do, you get married. You get married, which is such an exciting time in your life. You are blessed with a child, which I had a beautiful daughter. I've got a beautiful girl. Her name is Abby. And we decided, we decided to move over to China, and I decided to put my career on hold and move over to Shanghai, China. I don't know if any of you have been in Shanghai to China. Please put in the chat box if you have. I'd love to know. And I sort of thought, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be a great adventure. And it was and it wasn't. I ended up getting some work over there because I thought, you know what, while I'm over here, I might as well work. And my whole world fell apart. I was over there with my daughter, and my whole world fell apart unexpectedly. I became a full-time solo mum with a 4-year-old little girl, and we had to move back to Australia. I had to start all over again. It was probably the most unexpected, challenging, courageous time of my life. I could not find a job back home in Australia. I mean, this was 17 years ago. No one wanted to hire a full-time solo parent, a full-time solo mum who didn't have the opportunity to have support or couldn't get any kind of flexibility in the roles that she was applying for. And I was really struggling. My confidence was not. I think I went for 40 job interviews. I kept getting knocked back because of the fact that I couldn't travel. I needed flexibility. I didn't have a support network around me. Anyway, I ended up going for this job, and I went for this opportunity. I remember catching the train into the city, and someone was looking for someone to work in leadership. Someone was looking for someone to work on construction sites, work with engineers, superintendents, work with people that built roads, bridges, hospitals. I've also worked on plenty of amazing building projects with architects and designers and builders and lots of different great people that are making a difference to our world and community. And they were so great at building, but not so great when it came to leading people and teams that could build. So they had the technical knowledge, but they didn't have the leadership, or some people call it the soft skills. I call it the human skills. They don't tend to teach these type of skills at university or at school. I don't know about you, if you were taught these skills at university, at school. I think the tides are changing. I think, thank goodness, they are teaching these skills. And I remember being in the interview, and I remember him looking at me and him saying, "Do you know much about leadership?" And I looked at him and I said, "I know so much about leadership." I'm thinking, please don't ask me any questions, because I was kind of faking it. Like, my confidence was knocked, and I had to call into all my courage to put my hand up for this, because I had to put a roof over our heads and food on the table. And I said, yeah, I can do this. And I got the gig, and I caught the train home, and I bought every book I could on leadership. I read and I researched, and I started working on these construction and building sites, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I could see the difference, the impact it was making. And I started a blog called LeadershipHQ because I love to write. And then I turned the blog into a company. And now I've had LeadershipHQ for 16 years. And I've worked with thousands of leaders, hundreds of organizations, hundreds of teams, and I'm so blessed in the work that I do. I'm so blessed and honored to be here today, because even if you could take one thing from today, I'm going to ask you what that one thing is at the end. That would just mean the world to me. So who's ready to get courageous? I know I can't hear you. I'm hoping that you're sitting and listening and watching going, yep, that's me. And I'm going to take you on a journey around why I want you to be really courageous, because, you know, we only have this one life, and there is no deed in this life so impossible that you cannot do it. Your whole life should be lived as heroic deed. And I think that's what it's about. And why you matter to me is, look, I love building great leaders. My whole purpose is about building great leaders, to building great humans, right? And why you matter is because, in particular, I have a real passion for getting women in leadership, for helping women step in, step up, start up, you know, have the courage to lead. Because I think, because of all the work I've been doing and out there crusading for the past, 30 years, okay? I've been working for over 30 years now. And you're probably thinking, wow, really? I'm hoping you are. You know, particularly in the last 16 years that I've been crusading this leadership space, I'm still not seeing enough women. I'm still not seeing enough women sitting at the table, putting their hand up, believing in themselves, embracing their inner greatness and courage, right? I'm seeing too many women that are wanting to tick every box to apply for that job or promotion, that are comparing themselves to other. Comparison is the death of joy, right? That and they're embracing what makes them unique and great and focusing on that. You know, as women, we have to work as a tribe. We have to lift each other up. And this is about the power of the mix. Like, I'm really passionate about the power of the mix, because we do bring a different style to the table. We need to see more women in business. We need to see more women in leadership. We need to see more women making an impact, right? And for me, leadership isn't a role title. I'm going to talk to you about that later. And you really, really matter to me. You really do. So I want you to reach out to me. Anything you learned during this time we've got together that you want to know more about, please reach out to me, because one of my values is wisdom, and I'm going to share my details at the end. So I really want you to reach out to me, because I'm here to help you. And is there an issue with women in leadership roles? Yep, there is. Here's some data. This was from Mercer, like the different women in leadership roles in terms of percentage when it comes to industry. You can see that in terms of, like, obviously, you know, non-governmental membership organizations, it's kind of more balanced. Education is a little bit more balanced, but you kind of go down and you have a look at things like real estate, technology, transportation, manufacturing, infrastructure. We still have an issue with women. You know, this is why I love talking at schools, universities, you know, in front of women, because it is amazing being a female working in industries like architecture and infrastructure and manufacturing and building. It is, because I coach, I work with these people, and these are great industries for women. So today I want to talk to you about that leadership is an attitude. Leadership is courage, and leadership is about leaving a legacy, because great leaders do make great humans. Great humans make great leaders. And, you know, when I see those statistics, right, and I want you to see yourself as leaders. Like, I want you, when we have that mindset of leadership, it makes a difference. Trust me, it does. It makes a difference. Who here sees themselves as a leader? Okay, I think we've made leadership bigger than what it is. Leadership is an attitude. It's not a role or title. It's an attitude. It's a mindset. I wrote a book called Leadership Attitude. That's because of all the research and work I'm doing. It's a mindset. It's a choice. And I'm going to share this awesome video with you. It's one of my favorite TED Talks called Lollipop Leadership. It's a 5-minute TED Talk for you to change your frame. You change the game, right? Remember, change the frame, you change the game. Change your frame. See that leadership is within you, that you can choose to be a leader. And I'm telling you now, it'll change your life. So let me know what you think of this video. And I'd love to know at the end what you think of this video.
I want to start by asking everyone in the audience here a question. How many of you are completely comfortable with calling yourselves a leader? See, I've asked that question all the way across the country, and everywhere I ask it, no matter where, there's always a huge portion of the audience that won't put up their hand. And I've come to realize that we have made leadership into something bigger than us. We made it into something beyond us. We made it about changing the world. And we've taken this title of leader and we treat it as if it's something that one day we're going to deserve. But to give it to ourselves right now means a level of arrogance or cockiness that we're not comfortable with. I worry sometimes that we spend so much time celebrating amazing things that hardly anybody can do, that we've convinced ourselves that those are the only things we're celebrating. And we start to devalue the things that we can do every day. And we start to take moments where we truly are a leader and we don't let ourselves take credit for it and we don't let ourselves feel good about it. And I've been lucky enough over the last 10 years to work with some amazing people who have helped me redefine leadership in a way that I think has made me happier. And with my short time today, I just want to share with you the one story that is probably most responsible for that redefinition. I went to a school on a little school called Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick. And on my last day there, a girl came up to me and she said, I remember the first time that I met you. And then she told me a story that happened 4 years earlier. She said, on my day before I started university, I was in the hotel room with my mom and my dad. And I was so scared and so convinced that I couldn't do this, that I wasn't ready for university, that I just burst into tears. And my mom and my dad were amazing. They were like, look, we know you're scared, but let's just go tomorrow. Let's go to the first day. And if at any point you feel as if you can't do this, that's fine. Just tell us, we will take you home. We love you no matter what. And she said, so I went the next day and I was standing in line getting ready for registration. And I looked around and I just knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't ready. I knew I had to quit. And she says, I made that decision. And as soon as I made it, there was this incredible feeling of peace that came over me. And I turned to my mom and my dad to tell them that we needed to go home. And just at that moment, you came out of the student union building wearing the stupidest hat I have ever seen in my life. It was awesome. And you had a big sign promoting Shinorama, which is Students Fighting Cystic Fibrosis, a charity I've worked with for years. And you had a bucket full of lollipops. And you were walking along and you were handing the lollipops out to people in line and talking about Shinorama. And all of a sudden, you got to me and you just stopped and you stared. It was creepy. This girl right here knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then you looked at the guy next to me and you smiled and you reached in your bucket, you pulled out a lollipop and you held it out to him. And you said, you need to give a lollipop to the beautiful woman standing next to you. And she said, I have never seen anyone get more embarrassed faster in my life. He turned beet red and he wouldn't even look at me. He just kind of held the lollipop out like this. And I felt so bad for this dude that I took the lollipop. And as soon as I did, you got this incredibly severe look on your face and you looked at my mom and my dad and you said, look at that, look at that. First day away from home and already she's taking candy from a stranger. And she said, everybody lost it. 20 feet in every direction, everyone started to howl. And I know this is cheesy and I don't know why I'm telling you this. But in that moment when everyone was laughing, I knew that I shouldn't quit. I knew that I was where I was supposed to be, and I knew that I was home. And I haven't spoken to you once in the 4 years since that day, but I heard that you were leaving. And I had to come up and tell you that you've been an incredibly important person in my life, and I'm gonna miss you. Good luck. And she walks away, and I'm flattened. And she gets about 6 feet away, she turns around and smiles and goes, you should probably know this too. I'm still dating that guy 4 years later. A year and a half after I moved to Toronto, I got an invitation to their wedding. Here's the kicker. I don't remember that. I have no recollection of that moment. And I've searched my memory banks because that is funny and I should remember doing it. And I don't remember it. And that was such an eye-opening, transformative moment for me to think that maybe the biggest impact I'd ever had on anyone's life, a moment that had a woman walk up to a stranger 4 years later and say, you've been an incredibly important person in my life, was a moment that I didn't even remember. How many of you guys have a lollipop moment, a moment where someone said something or did something that you feel fundamentally made your life better? All right. How many of you have told that person they did it? See, why not? We celebrate birthdays where all you have to do is not die for 365 days. And yet we let people who have made our lives better walk around without knowing it. And every single one of you has been the catalyst for a lollipop moment. You have made someone's life better by something that you said or that you did. And if you think you haven't, think about all the hands that didn't go back up when I asked that question. You're just one of the people who hasn't been told. But it is so scary to think of ourselves as that powerful. It can be frightening to think that we can matter that much to other people. Because as long as we make leadership something bigger than us, as long as we keep leadership something beyond us, as long as we make it about changing the world, we give ourselves an excuse not to expect it every day from ourselves and from each other. Marianne Williamson said, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that frightens us. And my call to action today is that we need to get over that. We need to get over our fear of how extraordinarily powerful we can be in each other's lives. We need to get over it so we can move beyond it. And our little brothers and our little sisters, and one day our kids, or our kids right now, can watch us start to value the impact we can have on each other's lives more than money and power and titles and influence. We need to redefine leadership as being about lollipop moments. How many of them we create, how many of them we acknowledge, how many of them we pay forward, and how many of them we say thank you for. Because we've made leadership about changing the world, and there is no world. There's only 6 billion understandings of it. And if you change one person's understanding of it, one person's understanding of what they're capable of, one person's understanding of how much people care about them, one person's understanding of how powerful an agent for change they can be in this world, you change the whole thing. And if we can understand leadership like that, I think if we can redefine leadership like that, I think we can change everything. And it's a simple idea, but I don't think it's a small one. And I want to thank you all so much for letting me share it with you today. Have a great day at TED. I'll see you later.
So people, I don't know how you felt about that video. People are always asking me about leadership and why I do what I do, right? And that video, that TED Talk's really important to me. And I'll share a quick story why it's important to me and why I'm so passionate about this space and who I am, what I stand for, and why I want to lead. And I want you to think about those questions. These are questions that, in terms of my compass, are really important to me. Who am I, and who do I want to be, right? What do I want to be known for? What do I want to stand for? Why do I want to lead? Why do I want to be a trailblazer? Why do I want to be a crusader? And it's within all of us. And I'll share a little story with you. My daughter, who's now 21, at the age of 13, she had to step up and be courageous so many times in her life. I mean, here she was, being brought up by a full-time single parent, which was really challenging. And unfortunately, when she was at high school at 13, she got bullied so badly. She ended up at 14 leaving school. And this young woman was so incredibly kind and unique and different and quirky, and there's so many great words I could describe her. And I don't know if anyone's experienced anyone trying to pull you down or bullying. I had it at high school, but it's very different today. And she got it on social media because of her kindness, and she was different. And unfortunately, she had debilitating mental health issues because of the bullying. She decided she couldn't go back to school. And I won't get into the extent of what happened, but for many years it was just horrible for her. And I had to call into every ounce of my courage. And I wrote this book for her. I wrote this book called Just Rock It. And I wanted her to see her inner greatness. I wanted her to just rock it, right? But I wrote it for everyone else out there that, and mostly the women I was working with, I could see they just weren't rocking it. I wanted them to just rock it, right? And she was at my book launch, and she was really struggling with her health. And on the way home, she said to me, "Mum, I think watching you today, with this book and, you being a role model, you wanting to be that role model. And the reason I do what I do is for her." And she said, "I've decided I want to speak at schools. I want to speak at schools about anti-bullying and not judging others and compassion. I want to help other kids," right? And I thought, oh my gosh, okay. So I put it on LinkedIn. This guardian angel called David, who I didn't even know, reaches out to me, says, "Look, I've spoken to a couple of schools here in Brisbane, Australia. They want your daughter to speak." I thought, oh my gosh, okay. So I went and told my daughter, and she said, "Oh my gosh, Mum, why'd you do that?" And I thought, well, okay. And I didn't want to be this helicopter mom or speaker, because that's what I do. And I said, you've got 15 minutes to speak at these schools. Just tell me what to speak about. And she practiced and she got up on stage, and it's on YouTube, and she was remarkable. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. It was just incredible. And she shared stuff I wasn't even aware of. And anyway, she decided a week later, she really could see the difference she was making by speaking at these, it was just a couple of schools. She'd seen this TED Talk. Now, the TED Talk you just saw is called Leading with Lollipops by Drew Dudley. I had decided to find Drew Dudley on social media. I took some photos. She decided she wanted to go back and hand out 300 lollipops to these amazing children, teenagers. And she went back, handed out lollipops, and she wrote inspirational notes on each of the lollipops, handed them out. And still to this day, apparently they still talk about this lollipops and her speaking. And I sent Drew Dudley through social media. I don't know him. I just sort of thought he'd love to know that his TED Talk made a difference to my daughter. Within 5 minutes, I get this message from him going, I really need to speak to your daughter. I thought, oh my gosh, am I in trouble? Have I done the wrong thing? But anyway, a couple of weeks later, he sends a video to my daughter. He's standing on this mountain, and he says the day that I sent those photos to him was the day, the anniversary that he lost his fiancée to mental health challenges, and that she had saved him that day. And this was such a turning point for my daughter, that she saw that she could make a difference. She could step up and use her voice, and it made her have the courage to go back to school. She went to TAFE here in Australia. She had the courage to go to TAFE. She's now at university studying social work because she wants to make a difference to other people who maybe are struggling. So she's studying social work. It's kind of part of her journey now. But she's now, and the thing is, right, I think that's been all of us to see that inner courage, that inner greatness. Sometimes we just need someone. I see leadership's about helping others do more, learn more, be more. And I want you to think about these questions for yourself, because I want you to think about what you do. Like, what you do makes a difference, because it does. You make a difference on this planet. I have worked with you. I know you. You know, what you do needs doing, right? That you know about it. That I love this quote. What is it that needs doing that I know something about that probably won't happen unless I take responsibility for it? And that's kind of, I believe that when we see ourselves as leaders, it makes us more courageous. And then we own who we are and more authentic, right? Because we own that, you know what, I'm not perfect, but this is who I am. And when we are authentic, we build trust with those around us. And then when we have trust and we trust ourselves, especially self-trust, because we believe in ourselves, we are grittier. We show more passion and perseverance in terms of what we do. And then we're able to make that impact. We can make a difference. And then when we look back on our lives, we know that we've left a legacy. And when we think about courage, again, I think we've made courage bigger than what it is. Courage comes from the word heart, core. Courage is about heart. Courage is about, by being here today and listening to me, that took courage. To work in this, just to turn up takes courage, right? To be seen takes courage. To show up takes courage. And I love, this is one of my favorite quotes. Courage is the most important of all the virtues, because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently, right? And I'm a huge one. If you haven't been exposed to Stoicism philosophy, please get into it. It's amazing, because courage is one of the virtues, and you can't practice any other virtue erratically, but nothing consistently without courage. And it's so true. And why do we sometimes? I think sometimes we let fear, there's been plenty of times I've been scared. When I first came back to Australia, I was so scared. I was so scared. When I started my business, I was so scared. When I was trying to help my daughter, I was so scared. But I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid because I knew I could do it. I knew that I had the courage within me. And I think it takes, when we kind of look at courage, we kind of go, courage comes out when we face challenges or adversities, but courage can come up at any time. Don't wait for adversity or those times where you have to face courage to be courageous. Look back on your life and go, when were those times where I showed courage? And I know if you've been able to navigate COVID, you can do anything, right? It's about embracing the fear. There's a great TED talk by Tim Ferriss. He talks about fear setting. Think about the fear setting, overcoming your fears. What does that look like? For me today, one of my fears was failing. Oh my gosh, no one loves failing. But today, I actually embrace failing. I learn more from my failings and my stuff ups than I have on anything else in my life, right? I go, yay, failing, great. What did I learn from it? Next. How am I going to have that growth mindset, right? Because courage is fear. But the thing is, don't make it bigger than what it is. And this is such a great quote from a philosopher. We suffer more in imagination than reality. I think sometimes we make fears bigger than what they are. We catastrophize things. We don't believe in ourselves. It's like, we've got this. It's about this. It's about your mindset. You know, your your brain, your mind, is so powerful. You know, and I'm going to talk a little bit about neuroscience a bit later, because I'm really passionate about neuroscience and our mind. And it's about, it's kind of like, sometimes I think we've got these automatic negative thoughts or ants, that imposter syndrome happening. Squash them, get rid of the ants, get them off the stage, right? Embrace it. And the thing is, when we embrace courage and we get over fear, when we get through fear, where we go, oh, I don't have enough time for self-development. You find those excuses where I don't have enough time, I'm too busy, or what happens if people think that I can't do it? What happens if the imposter police come and arrest me? What happens if, I don't have the confidence? You know what? Embrace it. Go, I don't care what anyone else thinks. The only thing that matters is what I think. You know what? I am going to get more confidence because I'm going to keep growing and learning. I'm going to find the time to learn and grow. When you get from fear zone to learning zone, you see opportunities, you get better at facing challenges, you learn more, you grow more. Can I tell you, get that growth mindset happening, because when you have that growth mindset, you find purpose, you grow, you learn, you get a higher purpose, right? So focus on growth mindset, okay? And there's some great books and videos on growth mindset, as well as Get Grit. Today, I want to talk about the keys, and there's just a couple of keys to courageous leadership. I thought I'd like the key with the house, building. I thought that could kind of, relate to what you do. There's kind of a couple of keys, and they're based on my courage compass. I recently published a book. I spent years studying courage, and I felt that these were the keys to courage. Okay, first key is you. It's absolutely you. It's definitely what I just talked about around embracing fears, around having that growth mindset, but it's also about self-awareness. It's about, gosh, if I had a time machine, there's two things I would say to myself. If I could go back in time to my younger self, I'd definitely say the number one thing I'd say to myself is, please be more courageous. Please take more risks. Please put your hand up more. Please believe in yourself a lot more. Number one. Number two, I'd say to her is, please start to know who you are. Understand your values, okay? Self-awareness is key. Values is key, because values, your principles, your strengths, any kind of, get feedback from others, do Strengths Finder, Gallup Strengths Finder, do diagnostics. Like, there's so many out there. Just get to know who you are and what makes you tick. I think that's really important, because nothing can dim the light that shines within. Because it is about, like he talked about sometimes, where Marianne Williamson, when Drew talked in his TED talk, Marianne Williamson said, I think sometimes we're more scared of the light than we are the dark, but embrace the light, focus on the light, right? Because when we focus on self and getting to know who we are, the more self-aware we are, and then also that self-awareness, that self-actualization, that self-trust, that self-belief. But it starts with, I believe, you're understanding who you are. Character is everything, and values are the key to that. I'm very passionate about my values. I'm very passionate about helping others find their values. If you Google values, tools, or assessments, we have one as well if you want us to email you one. There's lots of free ones. I have my top 5 values. They're part of my compass. They help me with my goals. They help me with my decisions. They help me determine what makes me who I am. Values determine your character determines your value. That's based on James Kerr's book, Legacy. So remember, know your values. The next key, I think, to courage is kindness. Sometimes people say to me, kindness, I'm on this real campaign and crusade around kindness around the world. Don't you think we need more kindness? I definitely do. There's so much great research around when we really focus on kindness within organizations and cultures, the return of investment is remarkable. We have more trust, we have more empathy, we have more compassion. You can still be strong as a leader and still show kindness, right? I think it's really important. The thing is, with kindness, when we're kind to ourselves, we talk to ourselves like someone we love. When we have that self-kindness, we're so much kinder to other people. It also helps with when you have to have courageous conversations. I always say to people, when you have to have those courageous conversations, when you do it with kindness, it makes a difference. Kindness can transform someone's dark moment with a blaze of light. You never know how much your caring matters. Make a difference for another today. And the thing is, like, when people talk to me about courage and leadership, and they kind of go, the thing is, when you're kinder to yourself, and then when you do stuff up or you do make those mistakes because you have been courageous, when you embrace your inner kindness, it helps you go, you know what, I'm going to try again. Or next, that did work. Okay, tomorrow I know is going to be a greater day. I'm human, right? And the thing is, when we embrace kindness, when we have to have that courage to speak up or have courageous conversations, it's like, to be clear is actually to be kind. To be unclear is to be unkind. And that's a Brené Brown quote. So embrace kindness, because that definitely gets you to courage. The next one is purpose. So I did talk today a little bit about what my purpose is, and my vision is to build a world of great leaders. My purpose is to help everyone see their inner leadership and greatness. When we focus on purpose, we focus on meaning, it helps us with drive. It helps us with, this is why I want to do what I want to do. It helps you really navigate those seas, those rough seas, to go, this is where I'm going, right? I know it's going to be a bit bumpy, but that helps me stay courageous. I remember the start of COVID. I remember March 2020, I was sitting in this office with my team. It's like a co-working big office in the city. And it was literally like this tidal wave was coming to us when COVID hit. And we had just launched our Outstanding Leadership Award. So it was a dream of mine to have a platform to recognize and celebrate great leaders and teams, right? The Outstanding Leadership Awards, I thought, this is my dream. Our whole purpose was to create inclusive and celebrate kindness and recognize courage, right? And everyone said to me, don't do the awards. COVID's coming. Don't do events. And I stayed so focused on our purpose. I said, our purpose will get us through this. It was really challenging. I have to admit, it was really, really challenging, but we got through it. And we still have the awards today. But when you stay focused on your why, if you haven't been exposed to Simon Sinek's work around Start With Why, he's got a great TED Talk. And I cover this a lot in my coaching as well in our programs, is have a look at his stuff, because the neurobiology around purpose and Start With Why, again, inspires yourself and others. So that's a big one. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. And that is so true. That's leadership. It's all about courage and purpose. So I've spoken about self and self-awareness. I've spoken about kindness. I've spoken about purpose. The next one is resilience. Grit is building resilience. Like, this is a muscle, right? So, gosh, I think we're more resilient than we give ourselves credit for. You can learn resilience. I highly recommend that you really learn how to be more resilient. There's the Resilience Project is a great book. Mel Robbins has a great book called The 5-Second Rule. So counting down from 5 really helps being resilient. It's amazing how great this, like, affirmations help you be resilient. Trusting yourself helps you be resilient. Believing, like, this, just that really, again, that resilience helps you get to courage as well. And you can learn it. Our brains are amazing. So learn how you can be more resilient, right? Remember that, God, one of my favorite things I heard recently is that if it's not going to matter in 5 years' time, don't spend 5 minutes thinking or worrying about it. Okay. So it's really important that you learn resilience. Okay. And there's so many things that I always talk about in my coaching and my keynotes is around what's in your circle of control. There's, like, I think sometimes we spend way too much energy, okay, and thoughts on things that are out of our control. The amount of times that, I talk to people, or, I'm coaching them and they go, oh my gosh, I'm so worried about what other people think. And I'm so worried about, the weather or the future or the past. It's like, well, okay, everything that matters is the present. The thing is, the only thing you can control is who you are, the choices, asking for help, the way you act, the way you respond, your attitude, the words, your values. Always focus on those things that you can control. There's nothing else that you can control. It's just your circle of influence and control. That's really, really important. And that absolutely helps with resilience. Because remember, success is not final, Failure is not fatal. I can tell you right now, I have failed so many times. I'm still here. Inspiring and motivating as many of you to call into your courage. It's the courage to continue that counts. And it is. Just keep moving forward, right? Because the more you courage, the more you're encouraging, the more you'll get to courage. It's like the more you keep swimming and keep bicycling and keep cycling, the more you will keep getting better riding that bike or swimming those laps in the pool, right? You get to courage by encouraging. Finally, it's impact. Leadership is about impact. Leadership is just about making a difference. Let's not make it bigger than what it is. How can you make an impact? How can you make an impact as a woman? How can you make an impact as a leader? How can you make an impact in the work you do, in the wonderful world of architecture or whatever industry you're in? How can you make an impact? And how are you making an impact? And you are making an impact to your community and those around you. And it's about focus. I'm a great believer in attention goes, energy flows, right? I want you to focus again on who you are, that self-awareness. Focus on your kindness and being kind to yourself and being kind to others, because kindness is contagious, is courage. Focus on purpose, why you do what you do. Think about that. Focus on what's in your center of influence and control, and focus on how you're making a difference. That's it. And think about who am I? What do I want to be? What do I want to be known for? What do I want to lead, right? That's really, really important. Keep with those affirmations. Keep with understanding that what makes you unique and beautiful is really powerful. And as I mentioned a little bit before around, I'm really passionate about the neuroscience space. Happy to recommend so many different books and resources around this space. And I started studying neuroscience due to the fact I'd turn up to these construction and building sites with my hard hat, my steel cap boots, and I'd say, hey, I'm here to teach you leadership and emotional intelligence, right? And some of them would look at me and go, I don't think so. Like, I'd rather be digging a hole in the ground than talking about emotional intelligence. Not all of them. And then I thought, okay. So I started studying neuroscience. I did a diploma in the neuroscience of leadership. To this day, I've got hundreds of books around neuroscience and leadership. I still read everything about the brain because there's so much still to learn. The thing is, our brains have power, and there's a part of the brain called the reticular activating system, the RAS for short. Now, what the RAS does is that we can take in millions of bits of data per second, but what the RAS does is sorts out the data. And it sorts out what's important. It's called DIPI, dangerous, interesting, pleasurable, important. And what it does is it sorts out it. And those kind of, the data is about 7 units, just 7 units, give or take. All right. Dangerous, interesting, pleasurable, important, 7 units. That's it, right? Give or take. The RAS determines those units. So it's like when you buy a car, right? You go and buy a car, you go looking at different brands, and then you've decided to buy the Honda Civic red. And then you see Honda Civics everywhere. And you're like, wow, I haven't even noticed these Honda Civics before. There's so many red ones. Did I buy the right color? You're walking down the road, another Honda Civic. That's the reticular activating system, right? I don't know if you've ever encountered that when you buy a car. You just see them everywhere, right? It's the same with everything. Attention goes, energy flows. So because you've decided to buy that red car, you see it everywhere. It's the same with when we decide to focus on our strengths and we decide to focus on the gratitude and we've started to focus on our purpose and what's in our control. Imagine how that changes your frame of reference and changes your mindset, right? So if you're putting yourself down, take it off the stage, take it out of your mind. Because the more you think about the negative and more you think about the things that you don't have in your life and the things that are going wrong and the things out of your control, you'll start to notice them more. Does that make sense? So focus on the positives, focus on gratitude, focus on how you can learn from your failings, focus on, does that make sense? So if you want to know more about reticular activating system, remember, attention goes, energy flows, and you are the one that focuses and actually controls your RAS. You're the one that sets your RAS. So set your RAS to look at how you can be a leader and how you can be out there making a difference. Remember, leadership is an attitude. I wanted to finish off before we get you to ask some questions around the fact that I talked about leadership as an attitude. Leadership is courage, but it's about legacy. I don't know about you, but our most precious resource is time. It absolutely is time. Like here I am, I'm sitting here in my early 50s. I'm hoping you're going, oh my gosh, really? Hope you're laughing when I say that. I can't believe how quickly time is going. I remember when I was 20, like yesterday. Like, where did that go? I don't know about you, if you can believe that it's nearly Christmas, right? I want to get to the end of my life and look back and go, I made a difference. And I left a legacy that even if I helped one person be better or do better, or even if I built something and I built something and designed something and I saw it there and I was able to help the community or make a difference to the planet or build something or design something that has actually made a difference to our world, or whatever legacy you want to leave, I want you to think about the end in mind. Like, I want you to think about that legacy. And I want to close off with and I've got something else for free I want to give you all. So make sure you stay to the end, because I've got a QR code to give you all a beautiful gift to say thank you for listening to me today. It's just watch this video and tell me what you think.
When we're laying on our deathbed, you're not going to worry about how much money you had, how much power you had, how much prestige. You're going to see that that was all game, that was all an illusion. The only thing that's going to matter is the impact you had on other people's lives.
We are all on a separate journey. But the beautiful thing about our life here on this earth is at my funeral, they ain't going to talk about my success. They're going to talk about who Nick was and how Nick lived and how Nick loved and encouraged.
Success is incredibly important, but even more important than success, it's having an impact. It's knowing you haven't walked the planet in vain. It's knowing that because you've been here, you've blessed lives, you've developed people, and you have made the world a better place.
The effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is. Everything you gain in life will rot and fall apart. And all that will be left of you is what was in your heart.
Life is a mirror. And life gives us not what we want. Life gives us who we are. When you were born, you cried while the world rejoiced. Live your life in such a way that when you die, the world cries while you rejoice.
Wow. That always still makes me emotional. I've seen it and shown it 1,000 times. So I want you to think about what's that one thing, when maybe a question time or in the chat box, what's one thing you're going to put into action from today? I think that's so important. If you could share just that one thing that you got out of today, whether it is that you see yourself as a leader, that you want to be one of those trailblazers and crusaders out there, as well as a woman in this industry, because you want to step up and you want to stand up and you want to lead and you want to embrace courage, and that you want to focus on self-awareness or kindness or think about your purpose or be more resilient or understand that impact. I'd love to know what's one thing you got from today. And because and thank you. Like, at the end of the day, thank you for listening to me today. And if you could spare a couple of minutes to write a Google review, I would love that as well, because you'll go on the draw to win my book, First Comes Courage. I might give out a couple of those. It's such an honor to be part of your journey today, to get you thinking about leadership, get you thinking about courage. Just remember to talk to yourself like someone you love, right? I think it's so important that you have that self-kindness. It's so important that you see the difference that you are making and that purpose and the impact, and think about that legacy. And if you would love to know more about the work I do, and I've got a free habits journal for everyone. It's an amazing, I'm a great believer that your habits determine your character. It's an amazing online journal. Just use the code COURAGE. It's free for all of you. I think it's about 140 pages. It's a digital habits journal. It's fundamental. Follow me on all the different socials as well. We're huge knowledge sharers. We love to help everyone and anyone with, we love to share wisdom. So an inspiration around this space. Because I'm a great believer, we need more leaders, we need more kindness, we need more courage, and it does start with you. It starts with us, right? But it starts with you. And if I can do anything to help you, please, please, please reach out to us. And I just want to say a massive thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey and the conference today. And it's been a real honor.
Thanks, Sonia. That was amazing. It really was. I have some questions. Unfortunately, the platform's not really set up for that interactivity that you're looking for, but we do have some questions.
That's good. For some reason, I thought they could chat while I was presenting for some reason, so I'm so sorry about that. I did ask. Anyway, thank you.
we do have some questions. I'm just trying to move my video around so I can read them. But let me just say that when you were showing the lollipop video, and I've already had somebody ask the name of that person. I've passed that on. That's great. Heidi Ellison said that she's had the situation where you sort of thank the person who changed their life. She's had that happen often, and that she cites recently. So we have Wendy Keane as one of our sort of guiding lights in the architecture space, and she's just recently been out here to Australia, and she had a fundamental impact on Heidi a few years ago when she discovered her online and her material. And then when Wendy came out for a tour of Australia just last month, she met her in person, and so she had that opportunity to say thank you for the impact that she'd had on her life. So that was special that Heidi shared that with us. And then she asked a question.
I love that. Yeah, okay.
And then she asked the question. She said, "Hi, Sonia, what is the best single practical thing people can do first thing Monday morning to lift their leadership game?"
Oh, I love, that's a great question. 15 minutes if you imagine 15 minutes a day, even just on a Monday, like you can do it on a Monday, imagine how that would compound reading a leadership book. I'm also around, I love doing first thing in the morning or on a Monday, I set my RAS for the week. So I set my focus, I set my intentions, I really set like I'm going to rock it. I'm going to make a difference this week. So I do affirmations around I am strong, I am powerful, I am a leader. So I think affirmations make a difference because it really, the brain doesn't know, like if you're saying it, the brain's like computing it. Journaling, reading, visualization, the brain loves visualization. These things can, even 15 minutes on a Monday, or if you could do them every day, could fundamentally change your brain and your outlook.
That's great, thank you. And there's a couple of comments and a question from Christine Stevenson, who's our next speaker. And I'm just wondering whether I just sort of enable Christine's microphone and video, and then you can probably just have a conversation with her rather than me just reading out her questions. If you're happy to do that.
Yeah, no worries. Was there any other questions? Do you know if there's any other?
Well, Christine's got a couple. Let me just find Christine, and I think that was her that was just giving the thumbs up. So I'll just let her talk with audio and video. And Christine, you can turn your camera on and your microphone on now, and ask those questions to Sonia.
Oh, hi, lovely. How are you?
Good, Sonia, and I absolutely loved your presentation. It certainly brought back heaps of memories where I had to charge forward and be brave and courageous, and where everybody else around me was towing a different line, and I stood by my values and beliefs and went, no, I'm not going to be a sheep. I'm not going to follow everybody else. I'm going to do what's right for the company. Didn't always win me friends. So sometimes I think being a leader is a very lonely job. But having people around you and making sure that you get the support you need so that you can recharge batteries and feel energized again, so that when you come back into work, you can still lead with, bravery and be courageous and, just be there for your people.
Yeah, I love that. It's about others, isn't it? How we serve others.
Yep. Look, absolutely. Yeah. So I did have a question I popped into the chat channel, and quite often we hear the argument that leadership is something that comes natural to people, and we talk about the natural born leader, in plenty of history. And I was more curious to find, to hear from you whether you find your students are natural leaders, and if they're not, what's the biggest struggle with having to teach people leadership?
It's a great question. I'm a great believer. I mean, I think as well, like the whole argument about born or made, you do on occasions meet people that kind of more have that natural, especially if I do an exercise and kind of look at their life map and look at those times when they were younger or a teenager where they've stepped up to lead. Most of the time they don't even see it as leadership, that they go, oh, I was just the captain of the soccer club. Like I just didn't even see it. But probably the best leaders I've worked with, and there's been lots and lots have been made because they've had that growth mindset and they've wanted to learn. So for them, it's been that they know leadership is about being a great human and being great. And actually it's a huge responsibility. So it's a real honor and responsibility. And leadership can be at all levels, but learning it now before you get into a traditional leadership role would just make such a difference in your career. But also learning how to be a great follower as well. I think it's about how you can serve others and help others. And, and it can be, so many different free things, getting a coach, getting a mentor, reading books, reading leadership blog. Like there's so many ways that you can about leadership, but the greatest ones are the ones that actually have been open to learning it and had a growth mindset and wanting to learn leadership.
Yeah, that's perfect. I loved your reminder that leadership is kind. I had the unfortunate experience of working in an organization where the leader had actually designed the organization for conflict. So every team in the organization was meant to challenge each other, and it ended up being a really unhappy place because people were always fighting to get things done, fighting for resources, fighting for to be allowed to do just even the simplest of things. And it made such an unhealthy workplace that, as you can imagine, being an empath, I was one of the first to crumble under just the stress of going into battle. Instead of waking up every morning and thinking, I'm a great leader and I'm going to do this. And, despite the tons of positivity, it really took a beating where, besides doubting myself, just not being able to be there for other people, and waking up every morning, putting on my battle armor and getting ready to fight another day. So just your words on, leadership is kind, is just a reminder I think all of us could do with, in terms of, in our governance roles, we don't have to be unkind. It's about finding that kindness and empathy and being there to help people, not stop people.
Yeah, I agree. It was interesting. I put a poll on LinkedIn about this last week because, again, around, I do a lot of work in psychological safety. And, when I work in organizations that have more of that fear culture, and I see the damage and the impact it makes, I put a poll up around, if you were working in an organization that had a fear culture, what would you do? Would you do 1, 2, and be the change that you want to see, or would you try and have a voice and try and change the culture, or would you just leave because of the impact it has? And predominantly most people said we'd leave. And I think there is a time where you kind of go, do I accept it? Do I try and improve it? Or do I change it? Or do I remove myself from it, right? So sometimes in terms of mental well-being, you have to just walk away from those kind of cultures or fear cultures. But I'm seeing a real shift. Like I am seeing now. I remember when we had our awards, our first awards, and people kept saying kindness in leadership. And then now people are like, and now we're on to our third awards. They're like, yeah, I really get it. Like, yeah. And I'm seeing now, particularly the future generations, like, nah, we're going to be trailblazers in kindness and compassion. And I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. So it's watch out, organizations and leaders, because change is coming and people are wanting to have more psychological safety and kindness and compassion and empathy within their cultures.
Look, absolutely. And if I can say for women in architecture, women, again, are known for being empathetic and understanding and open to listening. It's no wonder that we have so many, strong women, especially after today's presentations, Daryl, seeing so many women in leadership roles. And I'm sure it's because of their ability to be kind and empathetic as well.
Sure. And just a note from Heidi. She was listening when you gave those suggestions for Monday morning, and she's come back to say, love it. You have such great energy, great suggestions. So I think Heidi's going to try those things on Monday morning.
Oh, awesome.
And that brings us to the end of the session. I wanted to say thank you, Sonia, for sharing your time with us and your experience and your wisdom with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Darren and Christine. It was so beautiful to talk and connect. You're amazing. Thanks so much, Daryl. Take care. Take care, everyone.
Okay,
Stay safe. Stay kind and courageous. Bye. Bye.